All right, so now that you know the basics of Unreal Engine 5, I think it would be a good idea to move on to making this game right here. So this is, as you can see, it's the world of the game. You can obviously expand this to make it like a proper open world game. However, I think this should be a good starting point for us. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the game just so that you guys can see how the gameplay works. Right off the bat, you can see that we have a character. We can move around and all that stuff. We have a timer countdown that we're going to be implementing. And we also have a health, which is at default it's 100, but when we get hit by enemies, it's going to go down. So if you press control on your keyboard, you can also walk around. You can obviously jump into stuff and like you can do some basic parkour as well. I'm just going to go back. You can hold shift to sprint as well, by the way. So I'm just going to sprint over this and you can see that the animation is different. It's sort of like just, some basic parkour. And then I'm going to be jumping over this. You can see that the jump animations are pretty nice and pretty unique. Every single time, I think it's like, there are some like variations of animations. And here you can see that we have our first enemy attacking us. And you can see our health is going down as well. So I'm just going to be running from it. And I think we have another enemy right there as well, but I'm going to dodge him. And yeah, essentially the goal of this game is to reach the spaceship. That is gonna, I'm just gonna be showing you guys the spaceship in just a bit, but yeah, that's the goal of this game. To reach there before the time ends and before the enemies basically kill us. And there you can see there is the spaceship itself. And we can just jump on it and you're gonna win the game. It's just like that. And it should restart the game automatically as well after you won. So yeah, there you go. It restarted the game. But yeah, it's a pretty nice game that you can sort of like, it's just a very basic game, but I think the fundamentals are there and the basic concepts are there for you guys to like learn the basics of game development. And I think you can sort of really build upon this and like make something really good out of this, right? So yeah, without any further ado, I think we should get started. So for that, I'm actually just going to go ahead and close this project so we can basically open a new one and just start working. And so the first step to making this game is going to be making our character, basically importing the character and like making it work. So let's go ahead and start with that. And so now what we're going to be doing is that we're going to go in our Epic Games launcher. So in the Epic Games launcher, we're trying to go to Fab right here. And inside Fab, you can find a lot of different projects and a lot of different, presets and different kinds of things, different kinds of assets that you can use in your games, or just to, build any sort of thing in Unreal Engine 5. So we're just going to click Start Exploring. It's going to take us to this website, fab.com. And here, we're going to search for Game Animation Sample. So this right here, Game Animation Sample, this is the project that makes our game possible. It has all the animations that we need. It has basically even the character that we need. It has one of the characters here. The enemy character we're going to be importing ourselves and we're going to be working on that in a bit. But for now, this has everything that we need to get started. So what you need to do, and it's also free as well. So what you need to do is just add it to library. Once you do that, just accept the terms and conditions. And then what you can do is you can go back to your Epic Games launcher, go to library, and Fab Library, you can just reload this. And this game animation sample should come up right here. Perfect. With this installed, we can just click Create Project. And I'm just going to call this Game Animation Sample Course. Because I have a project named this exact thing. I created that before for making the actual game itself. But this time I'm redoing that sort of thing for the course. And the folder, you can again select whatever you want. I'm just going to set it at default. Make sure that the Unreal Engine version is set to the latest version, which is 5.5 right now. If you're watching this in the future, just select the latest version that you have. Click Create. And now depending on your internet speed, it is going to take a bit to download. I think the file size is about 5 gigabytes, so it is going to take a bit to download. Although I think I already have it installed, so it's going to be pretty fast for me. Yeah, there you go. It's already done. And we can go ahead and just close this out. So once you open Unreal Engine 5, you're going to see your new project right here, Game Animation Sample Course. And I'm just going to be opening it like that. And if you're opening it for the first time, it might take a second, although it doesn't really have that many shaders, so it should be really fast. But yeah, just give it a second to install all the plugins and all that stuff. So yeah, just give it a second. Again, this is going to depend, this is going to vary vastly based on your computer speed. And I will let you guys know you need a pretty strong computer for this because Unreal Engine 5, although it has a lot of good features, it is not very sort of efficient to run on slower computers. You do need a pretty high spec computer for this. All right, so once you basically open the project, we're going to be just thrown into this level. Here you can just press play and you're going to see that we have this character sort of just running. And you can just sort of just sprint with it. You can move with it. And it gives you basically all the controls that you need, even for parkour. all the controls that you need to sort of just have a character sort of up and running, right? So it's pretty nice. This game animation sample really gives you everything you need without having to like do anything yourself, right? So that's pretty good. And also, if you want to change your character, because this is just a testing character, what you can do is you can go back to, you can go somewhere here, and I believe it says game animation widget. Yeah, just go on this. If you go over this, it's going to give you access of your mouse again, and it's going to open this widget right here where you can sort of just select whichever character you want from these. So our character, the one that we want to use, is going to be Twin Blast, this character right here. I'm going to press escape, just move this away, and then press play again. And perfect. You can see that we have our character up and running. It's just as simple as that. We don't really need to do anything. Now, if you want to get like a custom character, something you downloaded from like Sketchfab, or like maybe, something that you even created yourself, if you want to use those characters, we're going to have to import them separately. We are going to have to import those characters if you made them yourself, or if you got them off of somewhere else. We are going to have to import them and just sort of retarget the animations to that character, but that will just work perfectly fine. We're going to cover retargeting later on when we are importing our enemy character, because you can see that our main character is here, right? But the enemy character that we had, the sort of zombie type of things that we had, we do not have anything like that in this sort of built-in library that they give you of characters. So we are going to have to import that ourselves, and we're going to cover all that stuff later on. But for now, all that we care about is basically our character, and that is ready, right? So how exactly do we export this character and take it into our new project? The new project being basically our game world, essentially, because obviously in that one, what we're going to do is that we're going to create a whole world, because this animation sample project is just for, giving you the characters. You're not really supposed to build games in this project. You're supposed to create a new project and just export the characters there and just do it there, right? So for that, we're going to go back to Epic Games Launcher, to Fab again. And this time we're going to be downloading another project, and that is essentially going to be our game world, right? So if I just search for Quixel, it's going to bring up some of these different sort of, environments that they have. They have this saloon interior kind of thing, which is something really nice if you want to make like an indoor sort of scene. It looks very, very realistic. They also have this bazaar environment if you want to make like a, sort of rural kind of scene. They also have an old mine scene. Again, these scenes are essentially modular. They give you all the assets that you need, but they give you also sort of like a ready-made scene to work with as well, which is exactly what we're going to be using. They also have this warehouse scene, which you can use as well. And it's really nice. They give you a bunch of these built-in sort of ready-made scenes, which are really, useful. They also give you this unfinished building scene. So you can essentially choose any of these, just depending on the game that you want to make. For our case, we're going to be using the African Slate Quarry. This is the scene that we're going to be using. And so you can see that it looks very, very realistic, and it's pretty nice. Another scene that you could use, which is really, really nice, in my opinion, I think it's better than even this one, that is the Dark Ruins Megascan sample. This is a very huge sort of scene in which you have like a whole bunch of different environments, and it's this whole sort of world which you can build games in. However, this is very, very large, and even on my computer, I have an RTX 4080. Even on that computer, it lags a lot, and it's very hard to sort of work with. So only download this asset pack if you have a really, really strong computer and you are sort of willing to, just be patient with the software and just sort of just accept that it is going to be a little slow. One quick thing that I just wanted to add here was that you shouldn't limit yourself to just the assets that are provided by Unreal Engine themselves, by Epic Games themselves, basically. What you can do is you can just go to Fab and just go to environments right here. You're going to find a huge sort of library of asset packs in different environments, which you can sort of build your game in. Most of them are going to be paid. Most of the good ones are going to be paid. However, what you can do is you can just go to price, select free, and then you can just, basically find a whole bunch of like realistic environments. You can see that this is a subway train environment. This is like a utopian city kind of environment. So you have a huge variety of different scenes that you can sort of build your game in. So just don't limit yourself to, just the asset packs that I showed you. You can essentially just get anything that you want and sort of build your game in there. And if you really want, you can also sort of create a whole custom environment just by using custom assets. That way you'll have a lot more flexibility, a lot more customizability. But I would definitely recommend you, for your first game at least, just go with a pre-built environment. That way it's gonna, just make your whole process a lot easier. But for our case and our intent, this one right here, African Slate Quarry, is the perfect project. So once you just click add to library, I think you're going to have that option. I already do have it saved in my library. So what I can do is I can go back to the Epic Games launcher, go down to Fab Library, just make sure to refresh it. And you can see I have this African Slate Quarry right here. So here you can see that we can basically add this to any project that we want, but obviously we don't have a project right now, right? So what we're going to do is that we're just going to minimize this. We're going to right click Unreal Engine and just click Unreal Engine again to open basically another instance of Unreal Engine 5. And we are going to leave the game animation sample open because obviously we are going to be copying the character and all the assets from here. But again, what we're going to do is that we're going to open the Unreal Engine launcher and we're just going to go to games and we're just going to open the third person template. This is going to give you just some tools that you might use, may or may not use. We're not really going to be using that many tools, which are given in this template. So you could also go with blank, but just in case, we're just going to go with the third person one. Make sure to set it to Blueprint. We are not going to be covering C++ in this course. We're only going to be covering Blueprint. And make sure that your quality preset is set to maximum and target platform is set to desktop. And I think it should be good. What you can do next is that you can just click create. And I accidentally called it my project. You can change the name if you want, but I'm just going to leave it to my project. It's fine. And just wait for it to open. And because this is just a default template project, it shouldn't take that long to open. Now what you can do is you can just go ahead and go back to your Epic Games launcher, click African Slate Quarry, click add to project, and make sure to click show all projects if your project is not being shown, and just select my project or the project that you just created, and just select the latest version that is compatible and click add to project. And right away you're going to see again, this is going to be another 3 GB of download, but I already do have it downloaded. So right away you're going to see this scene_quarry slate thing inside your inside your content browser, right? And it's going to have a lot of these folders. What we're going to do is that we're going to right click here, make sure that level is selected in the filters, and then we can just click level and we can open quarry_slate. And so this is basically the level where we have the whole scene. So you can see that it looks very, very realistic, very nice. And obviously it's an indoor scene right now, so we're not going to be working with it directly. We are going to have to change quite a bit of stuff here, but I think the overall scene looks pretty nice. The water is very high quality and all that stuff. So what we're going to be doing next is that we're just going to select a lot of these assets, like these random assets, and just delete them. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go up to our outliner. First thing is I'm going to select the asset zoo, right click, select all descendants. These are basically all the individual assets that you have. You can sort of keep them if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and delete all of them except for just, I think, these 3. So I'm going to just leave these 3 and delete everything else because we're not really going to be using any of those. So what we can do is we can just identify which ones these are. So it's these 3, right? So these 3 right here. Oops, my bad, these 3. And what we can do is we can just create a new folder. With all of them selected, just click this button right here to create a new folder. And I'm just going to call it assets. And so everything else we can basically just select like that and just delete. Perfect. Once we do that, we can essentially just go back to the main scene that we were in before, like that. Click visual framework, right click, select all descendants. This is essentially everything else that we have in the scene. So this whole scene, which is not really necessary for us, we just need this sort of map. Delete everything else. And you're going to see that the scene is just completely dark. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to create a basic lighting setup, which you already know how to create. Just go to Window, go to Environment Light Mixer, and click all these buttons one by one so we can create a whole sort of lighting setup for ourselves. Perfect. And so now we have this sort of just basic scene to just start working with right away. And we don't have anything unnecessary that we don't need. We are going to be keeping these assets for now because we're going to be using them in just a bit. And yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. Although the lighting right now is looking absolutely trash. So we're going to be fixing that in just a bit. And also these empty folders, we can also delete them, just to make sure that our scene is a little more, organized and just a little more, easy to work with. we're going to be doing one thing. Make sure to go into skylight and make sure that real-time capture is turned on. Go to your sky atmosphere. Make sure, actually not sky atmosphere, go to exponential height fog. Make sure volumetric fog is turned on. It's just going to make your scene look realistic. And then we can also reduce the fog as well because it's a bit too much. Density, I'm just going to half it, set it to 0.01. And everything else, I think should be fine for now. We're going to be working on the visual aspects of this scene in just a bit. But for now, just to make it a little, easier to look at, we're just going to be changing the position of the directional light. I'm going to be moving the light here, which is not really going to change anything except just make it easier for us to look at the scene while also moving or rotating the light. So you can see that rotating the light really makes it look a lot better. I think something like that. Although the light is very, very harsh right now, which is not something I like. I think something like that should be a good sort of starting point to just work with. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step, which is going to be adding our character into this scene and sort of just making this scene traversable. What I mean by traversable is basically sort of our character can just basically move on these assets and just, just basically just our character being able to move on the scene. So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to go back to our game animation sample, and here we're going to go to content, make sure the level filter is turned off, and I'm also going to I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click reset filters just to make sure that we don't have any filters. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go to blueprints, we're going to go to retargeted characters, and then we're going to select this character right here. So this is going to be called CBP underscore sandbox character underscore twin blast. So twin blast is the name of this guy basically. And if I just open this, and I know you don't really know anything about blueprints yet, so I am going to be explaining all that in just a bit. But if I just go to viewport, you can see that this guy is essentially right here in this viewport, and I'm holding Alt on my keyboard just to orbit around this character. So we're going to be exporting this character with all its animations and everything into the new project that we have, right? And that's super, super easy. All you need to do is right click this character, go to asset actions, then go to migrate. And we're going to be, it's essentially going to select everything that you need to sort of, get this character, to get this character to basically run. And it's a whole bunch of assets. Yeah, so I think all this stuff is going to be necessary. So just leave everything checked. And then what you're going to do is that we're going to click OK. And now it's going to open your file explorer, and then you can just go to the project that you want to sort of save it to, right? So we're just going to go back to our under projects, go to my project, because that is the project that we're currently working in. Go to content, and then just select folder. And so what you need to do is you need to apply to click apply to all, and then you need to do no, because obviously every asset that is already there, we don't really need to like copy it again, right? Click no. And then it is going to take a bit because obviously we're copying over a ton of assets, but hopefully it should be done soon. Actually, yeah, it's not really that long. But yeah, I'm just going to see you guys when this is done. All right, so for some reason that project just crashed. I'm not sure why that happened, but what you can do is you just send and close, like that, and I think everything should be copied because it did 1755 out of 1756. So I think everything really essential should be copied over. So what you can do here is that you can just go to just make sure to remove filters also, and what you can do is you can just go to blueprints and then go to retargeted characters again, and you should have your twin blast right here. Okay. Now, in order for us to play this game, it is important for us to create a game mode. If you don't know what a game mode is, which by the way, I don't expect you guys to know because you guys are beginners. So essentially what a game mode is that it's a blueprint file which sort of stores information, essential information about the game's rules. So who's going to be the game character, what's going to sort of like what kind of events are going to happen in the game. All this information is stored in a game mode file, right? If that didn't make sense, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't need to make sense for you, to be honest. All you need to do is just know how to sort of create a game mode and know how to use it, and then eventually you are going to understand how it really works. So we're just going to right click anywhere here in the blueprints folder, right click anywhere except for a folder. Just click anywhere in this specific folder. Click blueprint class, and here you can just click game mode base, click that, and then you can just call this game mode underscore tutorial. Okay, game mode tutorial. This is just for us to essentially know which game mode it is, because Unreal Engine has multiple game modes by default as well. So then all you need to do is just open this game mode, and you're going to see these settings right here. So all we need to do is change the default pawn class. What the default pawn class is that it's essentially the character that your player will sort of control when you play the game. So we just need to select this, and instead of the default pawn, all we need to do is, well, you guessed it, we need to set it to CBP underscore sandbox character underscore twin blast, because that is our main character, right? Just select it to that, and it is gonna take a bit, but then it should be fine. Done. So we have the character set right here. We can just close this out now. Make sure to save all. And then one other thing that we need is a player start. Player start is basically an object that you place in the world anywhere, and that is where your player is essentially going to start and just spawn there. So we can just click right here and go to add, search for player start, just write player, and it should come up right here. And we're just going to place this somewhere here. It says bad size right now because it is intersecting with some objects, so you just need to make sure that it is, you know, up away from everything else and it's not touching anything, and also it is slightly above the ground as well, just to make sure that your player doesn't intersect with the world. So now if I play the game, and if I click play in editor, we can see that we still don't have our character. We still have this random character, which is I think the default in Unreal Engine 5. And so what we did was we essentially didn't sort of set the game mode, this game mode to be used. So the mistake that we made was we created this game mode, right? But how does Unreal Engine know which game mode to sort of play the game in, right? So what we need to do is we need to go to world settings, and here just click game mode override. It says none. All we need to do is just select this game mode, drag it on here like that. And now Unreal Engine knows that essentially the game mode that we need to play in is going to be this game mode right here. And if you just open these settings right here, you can see, just make sure that your default pawn class is set to your character right here, Twin Blast. Just save everything. So now if I go ahead and play it, you're going to see that again, nothing is going to happen. And that's because we missed a major step. And that is that basically the game sample project that we used, that uses a bunch of plugins that we need to enable in this project as well in order for this game to run. So it's just, don't worry about this. It's basically just, you know, how every program has plugins, right? So this project that we imported, the character that we imported, we need to enable a few plugins which are already installed in Unreal Engine 5 but not enabled by default. So we're just going to go ahead and enable those, and then it should work perfectly fine. So what we need to do is go up here, go to the top right to settings and click that, then go to plugins, and now we need to enable just a few plugins for it to basically work. So the first plugin is going to be called motion trajectory. Just turn this plugin on, motion trajectory, click yes. The next one is going to be pose search, my bad. Enable this one as well. The next one is going to be motion warping, click this one as well. And with that, we also need to turn on animation warping as well. After that, we're going to turn on another plugin, which is going to be called chooser. So just turn this on as well. And also animation locomotion library, turn this on as well. And lastly, the last plugin that we're going to be installing is going to be deformer graph. Okay, this is already turned on by default, but yeah, make sure to turn this on as well. So once you have all these plugins installed, basically just checked, is you just need to restart Unreal Engine, and once you do that, the game should be working perfectly fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and restart it, and I'll see when it's done. All right, so Unreal Engine just restarted, and now if I just go ahead and click play without even doing anything else, you can see that our game is working perfectly fine. You can just walk around with the character, and it should work perfectly fine. You can also sprint with shift, or you can press control to, I believe, walk. One problem that we are noticing right now is the fact that the collisions of some of these meshes are not ideal. So you can see that the foot movement is kind of weird in some of them. So we are going to fix that in just a bit. Yeah, you can see that the collisions are definitely messed up. Like, why can't my player go ahead in this scene? Yeah, even though there's nothing ahead of him. So, and also you fall through this ocean. So that's something we also need to work on. But you can see how easy it is to just set up this whole sort of scene and this character and everything just by, you know, a few clicks, and just by importing pre-built animations, pre-built characters. Everything is sort of, you know, just done for you. All you need to do is just put them together and just make something out of it, right? So that's really the beauty of Unreal Engine 5, and we're going to be continuing working on this. Our next step, I think, should be to just fix the collisions first, right? And After that, we're going to be, just sort of making the level, building out the level, and then we can sort of work on the basic logic of the game and just, create a timer system. I'm going to be introducing you guys to blueprints, and after that, we can work on the enemy logic and just get into a little more of the, advanced stuff, which is going to be slightly difficult for the absolute beginners. But it's not going to be that bad. So yeah, let's get on with that.